QuickBooks Online 2021. We're going to enter a pay bill form. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Online 2021. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars practice file. Last time we entered some expenses and some check type forms. This time we're going to enter a pay bill type form. The pay bill type form is similar to an expense or check form in that it will be another form that's going to be a decrease to the checking account, but it will be linked intimately to the bill item up top, the bill form up top. Let's first take a look at this in our flowchart in the desktop version. You don't need the desktop version to follow along here, but we just want to use the flowchart with it. Notice last time we entered some of our normal type of bills, like a utility bill, phone bill, and so on and so forth. And those bills, when I use the term bill there, I mean we got something from somebody else, a vendor that we have to pay. Within QuickBooks, then, we have a distinguish of how we're going to pay those items. We could pay them as we did last time by just simply writing a check, decreasing the checking account, and then recording the other side to wherever the bill should go, such as an expense account. Or we can take those actual physical bills that we got and enter them into what QuickBooks calls a bill form. And if we entered it into the bill form, that means that we're going to be increasing the accounts payable, and the other side then is going to go to the expense or whatnot, and then we'll have to pay the accounts payable with a pay bill form, which is in essence an expense or check type of form, but one linked intimately to the pay bill, to the bill itself that we entered, the bill form. So we're going to go through all the checks that we did this time and do them in that format in the following month. We'll enter those same checks in like a bill type of format, and then we'll use the pay bill kind of feature for it. This time we'll just glance at it. We'll take a quick look at it because we entered a beginning balance in a bill format for our beginning balances in accounts payable for one of our major vendors as a bill. Now we're going to pay that off using the pay bill format. So we don't really have at this point like a bill that we entered. What we did enter was a beginning balance that QuickBooks put in basically as a bill because it was an accounts payable beginning balance to a vendor. And now we're going to go in and pay the bill with the pay bill feature. So let's minimize this, and we can see this as well if I go to the expenses tab on the left hand side. And if we were to kind of organize what we owe, we could go to the vendor tab over here, and we can get kind of a quick view on the right of what we owe. So there's the 15,000. If we want to go into that Epiphone type item, then we see the 15,000 here. If we wanted to then sort the data, we could do so by hitting the filter button, sort by the bills, and say we want to say all bills, and then apply that. And so there is our bill that we could then want to pay. So we could then hit the drop down and we could schedule a payment here. So let's open up a few reports. Before we do this, I'm going to right click up top and duplicate this tab. I'm going to right click up top again and duplicate the tab again. And we're going to be opening up the balance sheet, and then I want to open up an accounts payable type of report on the right hand side. So let's go to the balance sheet here. Let's go down to the reports on the left hand side and reports, and we're going to open up our favorite report, that being the balance sheet report. Opening up the balance sheet, and let's range change it up top, ending at 12/31/21, and then run that report. Closing the burger up top, holding down control, scrolling into about that 125%. And then let's go to the second tab and let's look at a payable type of report here. Go into the reports down below. We're going to go to amount you owe. We want an accounts payable type of report or a vendor report. So here's who owes you. Then we got the sales and customers, and then we have what you owe. So we could look at an accounts payable aging detail report, but I'm going to take a look at instead the vendor balance detail report. Let's open the vendor balance detail report and range change it up top. It says all dates. We'll keep it at that. Close the hamburger. And there we have our 15,000 broken out by vendor, which is only one vendor. So just wanted to note that these other reports are another way that you could sort the information as to who you owe. So if we go to the balance sheet, for example, the common question would then be, if you're in the accounts payable department, how much do I owe people? What's in accounts payable? And then we would ask, well, who are the people that we owe and how past due are the bills? Is there any way that we can delay the bill without being penalized? and which bills should we pay, because we will be penalized if we don't pay them soon. And to do that, to just see who owes you, we could go to this report, which breaks out who owes us. We only have the one person at this point, and it's put together by the bill, even though if I click on that bill, we set up this bill as part of the beginning balances, the opening balance. So the other side went to opening, it was description, opening balance equity, and the system just put it to other miscellaneous expense back before the date that we started entering transactions, that being on 12/31/2020. We're going to start entering detail in 2021. So in other words, this expense didn't affect the income statement in the current time period, did affect the permanent accounts of the accounts payable, which we are now paying off. Closing this back out, let's just go back to the first tab and do that. We're going to go to the drop down, and I'm just going to go to the pay bill under the vendors section. And this is going to be another kind of area where we can sort the open bills. So it's another area that we can sort, who we owe. Now, obviously, we only have the one item here, so it's going to be fairly straightforward. If you're in a larger company, again, you can have a whole department that's there to kind of manage who you need to pay and try to pay them kind of as late as possible, typically. And so let's put the date here as of, I'm going to hit the plus button, bring it back up to the 28th or the 29th, let's say. And then we'll have it, you can either have the checks. If it's not a check, then I would delete the check number there so it doesn't print a check. And that way it could be something else like an electronic transfer if you don't have the check number, for example. And then I'm going to be clicking on the bill that we're going to be paying, which will of course be the Epiphone. I'm going to pay the entire thing, but if we were to pay something other than the entire thing, then of course we can put the payment here and we would still have part of the bill then outstanding if that were then the case. What's this going to do when we do it? When we enter this, it says pay bill up top. That means it's going to be, of course, paying it with something like a check type of form. And then the other side is going to be going to the accounts payable. So anytime we see the pay bill, it means that we're not going to hit an expense account or anything like that. We're decreasing the accounts payable. And if we want to know what actually happened, what we actually purchased, what expense account or asset account was affected, or liability account, when we entered the bill, we have to go back to the actual bill. So let's go ahead and then pay this. I'm going to say, let's save it and close it. So save it and close it, and then we'll check it out back to the balance sheet up top. And let's freshen up this report. And we're going to say in the checking account, if I go into the checking account, scroll down, we now have on the 29th, we got the pay bill check. There's the $15,000. So notice it is still a check. It has the check number here for us, but it's a special check and it's indicated in the transaction type as a pay bill check. So that tells us both that it's a check decreased to the checking account, but also that it's connected to a pay bill, and therefore the other side of it will be going to the accounts payable, which of course is also indicated by the split item in accounts payable. If I click on any item here, it's going to take us to the actual form. So if we go to the form, here's the form that was paid off. Now, if I want to know the expense account or income account or whatnot, or asset account, expense account or asset typically that was affected, I can then go to the bill here, connect to the bill, and that's where the actual expense account was hit here, this being the other miscellaneous expense in the prior year like we saw before. Closing this back out, scrolling back up top, going back to then our report, and the other side of this is going to go to the accounts payable, which is here, is now down to 0. Nothing's in accounts payable. We paid it off now. So there's the $15,000. There's the opening balance. We paid it off. Now we're at 0. So we have the bill payment here, scrolling back up top. And then, of course, if I go to my accounts payable report, it's going to be removed here. Once I see it, I'm going to say run the report again, and then it's gone. If I want to see the detail, I can go up to the customize reports, take a look at the filters, and say I would like to look at the not just the unpaid, but all, and then say run that report. And so now we see it, of course, the bill going in place, and then the pay bill. That's what this report should typically look like. A bill happens, and then we pay the bill, and we can kind of tie those out step by step. Let's just open up the trial balance now so we can take a look at where we stand at this point in time. So you can check your work as we go. We're going to type in here the trial balance. Trial balance, that's a trail. I do that sometimes. I make a trail balance. No one knows what I'm talking about. It's a trial balance. We'll range change it up top to ending date 12/31/21 and then run that report. So you could check your numbers here to see if you're lining up so far as we go. We'll also print these out so you can have access to them and check your work in that format as well.